draw an oval. Okay, Black Panther has 2 ears. So from here we can go to Pokemon. Now draw a center line down here, center line, or a line. Okay, this is the center line here, about halfway. Those are the 4 quadrants. About halfway between the top and bottom is where you don't want to put the eyes. Halfway between here and here. Maybe the top part of the eyes. The eyes take a half of that. So we're taking a half of this and half of that and a half of this right here. So it's a half of a half, 1/8. 1/8 of the distance from here to here.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
We added a draw along channel in the Discord,
Oh,
so they can post there.
All right, is that open to everyone?
Yeah.
All right, great. A draw along channel. The eye is roughly, put this eye in between this part and this part. Like there should be enough space here and here to be about the same. The space between these 2 eyes is roughly this distance is roughly the same distance as these eyes. And these eyes, as you can see, are triangles. Here, this is a triangle. You take that center point and you move it this way. So it's like this. And there should be a slight angle to that. All right. Okay, you know what? I'm going to back it up. Back it up. Doot, 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 doot. All right. Draw a light V. There we go, right there. This V comes down roughly to the midpoint. Okay. And then do that. Does that help? From that center point, we're gonna clean up the sides of that oval. We're gonna tighten it up just a little bit. Okay, and then define the bottom here as the chin. So we're just adding we're adding straight lines at the edges of the ovals to kind of just create some sharpness to the face. So have you guys straightened out these curves? So this angle forms a V. And that's a pretty proper V. So if you've got this shape V and you've got this equilateral triangle where each triangle length is the same distance with, you have performed this part of the illustration. Gon's perfect. Am I making this up as you go along? What gave that away? Now, from the ears, drop the neck down. He's got a pretty manly neck, very stout. And then at the bottom of this triangle, well, a little bit above this triangle, draw the shoulders. Okay. And this angle, really, this is a isosceles triangle. Correct? 90 degrees, 30, 60. Okay. All right, now, the all-important thing on this character is where the nose is. The nose goes from this point, and we're going to go down to, say, halfway, that halfway point. And if you want to figure out where that halfway point is, you can just measure it. Take that, fold the piece of paper in half. This is a super thick piece of paper, so it's not very easy. Okay. Fold that index card. There's the half. That's how I actually figure out half. Like on a, if I'm drawing something where I have to draw a halfway point, I just take a piece of paper and fold in half. Where this is not where the nose is, unless you have a long nose. The nose is going to be about 2/3 of the distance from this to this. So roughly right about here. Okay. So when you think about the side of this head, okay, the nose comes out like this. All right, but because the fabric comes down, catches the tip of the nose and comes down like that, that's how. It's Spider-Man, it's Black Panther, any character with a cloth, even Grifter, Deadpool, Deathstroke. And because it's a nose and not a point, that shadow begins kind of a little wide. If it was a point, you would just go like this. And you can, it just looks a little funny. So I just broaden that tip a little bit to represent the width of the nose. And you connect it down to here. Okay. Should meet right about there. The ears start roughly at the same height as the top part of the eyes. So we're going to just pop it out. And then because ears look like this, here's the earlobe, top of the ear. They're wider up top and kind of come down. So there's an angle to this. So I'm going to represent that by that. Okay. Here's a nugget. When you draw something, go ahead and do a flip horizontal on it. And if one eye looks higher, you'll see mistakes. All right. So a very quick way of doing that when you're drawing is to take your image and hold it to the light, to the sun, to a lamp, whatever, and flip it around. And you're looking at it through the reverse, which is the same thing as on Photoshop or any browser, and just flipping the image horizontally. You'll see mistakes. You'll see the drawing as if someone else drew it, and you'll be better able to identify mistakes and improve your drawing. And it's very frustrating because you'll draw something, go, it looks great, this face looks great. You flip it, and one eye's like higher or lower, and it would drive me nuts. I'm speaking from personal experience. If you were to draw a skull, or look at a picture of a skull, okay, the eyes do not look like this, unless you're the Punisher. So I've just disproved myself. The, the shapes on the skull are big like this because the eyeball has to fit inside there. But it's not a perfect square. It's not a square. It's kind of, think of like a lens to a pair of sunglasses. That's an interesting way of taking it. So if you put sunglasses on Black Panther, that's kind of where the shadows of his eyes would be. All right. Okay, take that nose, go straight across, then straight down. Put that mouth in. Hey, it's Batman. All right, there we go. Now it's Batman. All right, so let's draw the eye. I start with the eyes. And now I'm not going to just draw these blocks. These shapes are the construction lines. These are the blue lines, the underdrawing of which we're going to build on top of to create these beautiful Black Panther drawings. So go ahead and put, it's kind of the edge of the brow here. That's what that line signifies. And I put a slight curve to this. I kind of bend it. Okay. And I do the same thing here. All right, now we're going to draw the bottom part of the eye, and it's right about here. Come down, soften that turn, but come right back into this part right here. And now I'm going to put some furrow lines, go straight up. And this kind of represents the brow part. This part here of the eye kind of juts out a bit. Kind of break up the lines like they're telegraphed. Doot, 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 doot. Right? So these lines are the conversations, and they're breaking up because of interference. I noticed this nose is actually too low. I'm going to raise it up. All right, that's the beauty of inking, is that we're just using the pencils as our guide, as our spirit guide, but we're not beholden to it. So I'm seeing it. All right, but the angle is right. Okay. And now we can start inking the sides of the head. And if you notice, I do one side and then the other side, because I'm basically cross-checking these distances. When you're drawing, you want to make sure that your distances between objects, especially on a straight-on shot, are the same. So I'm like constantly checking that line to this line to this line to this line, that distance to this distance, where that eye ends and or drops down, the lowest point of that eye to that eye. Okay. Where that ends to this ends, drop down. I'm going to soften this corner and this corner. Right? I don't want, in my underdrawing, I have a lot of angles and sharp lines. When I draw with ink on top of that, or if I were to fully pencil this as I erase the underdrawing and repencil it, I'm looking to put nuances and subtleties and curvatures, just sort of smooth out some of these lines, some nuance. Okay. All right, now I'm going to just draw the neck. It flares down a little. Yeah, it flares in just subtly, and then it kind of comes back out here. Okay, and the reason why it flares in is these muscles, right? Help contract the neck at the base. But then if you're buff, like me, it flares out with these gigantic back muscles. Ay. That's too low. I'm gonna raise it up. Okay. So I just cross-checked that height to this height, and it looked off a little bit. As you can see, it's not about exactly following the construction lines, but using the construction lines to guide you, and then when you put the real line down, you can kind of, it gives you, you can tell like, oh, did I go too far, too short? But at least the construction line gives you a place to start. Now it goes up to the ears, pointy ears, happy pointy ears. These are offset mountains. Okay, the tip is a little more to the outside, or you can make them completely the same. When I say the same, you can make the ears like this if you wanted, or you can make the ears a little more offset. These are more like Batman ears. These are more like Daredevil horns or Black Panther ears. I've seen them drawn both ways. All right. And then you complete the top part of the head. And maybe it gets a little flat here at the top. Right? Now I'm going to erase these other bogus Batman lines very gently because my camera's attached to the top of the board and I don't want to create too much shake. And voila! So the jawline starts really from here, the side. So the middle point of the ear is where the jawline starts, so right about there. And it comes down to roughly about the same spot right here. Okay? These muscles come down and connect somewhere right around here. And this is where the collarbone starts. The collarbone extends out to here. See how all these things line up and makes it super easy. All right. Then if you look at the shadow underneath here, these sort of lenses. I drew the lines too at too much of a 90-degree angle. They actually kind of flare out more like this. So it's more like aviator glasses and less like square sunglasses. And then temple lines. Here. that would be like the shirt line, right? Draw that, right? There's about 2 eye lengths distance here and here. It starts right above the collarbone. And then we're going to draw like these teardrops, right? Okay, draw the tears, upside down tears. And if you notice, I'm not inking exactly the lines I did. And then draw the little connectors between I guess the necklace strands. Can I tell you something? I am so curious to see what you guys have drawn. Just super curious. But don't post it up yet. Just hold on. Okay? If I just start inking, it's going to be hard. So I'm going to just show you where I'm going to ink the black areas so you guys can prepare. We're going to say the light source is directly above the Black Panther, so this is going to get filled in. This is going to get filled in. This is going to get filled in, but it's going to get lighter as it goes down because the shadow is most pronounced right under the ledge, but then as it fans back this way, or as the light's coming down this way, some of that light's going to catch the bottom end of this chin, and it's just not going to be as black. And there's going to be shadows underneath the cheekbones here. And then the head is going to cast a shadow on the neck itself. And these muscles here, these gigantic muscles right here, they also create a shadow. Okay. And maybe you put some rendering here, which is that forehead, like there's like a flatness right here that catches a little bit of the shadow. And maybe that catches some shadow here, the front parts of the ears. Okay? This brush is dry, and when I put it in, it's wet. Okay, and then I'm going to just kind of pull it on the edges here to create a sharper tip. So even now, I've got these areas that are black, but I really let the brush kind of help me define where these shadows are. And I'll kind of do like little dits and dats, kind of just hit that tip a little bit to create like micro shadows at the ends of lines. All right. Now the tip of the nose, it's going to be black, but then as it comes down, I'm going to kind of push down a little harder on the brush, okay, until I get about halfway. And then I'm going to take another piece of paper like this, and I'm going to do a dry brush effect, which means I'm going to basically move it until I get some of the ink off this brush, so I get that kind of effect. I'm going to come in and kind of complete the shape with dry brush. If you thought I was just going to make every shadow here just full on black and not teach you a little bit about dry brush, you have another thing coming. I want to push you guys. This may seem simple at first, but there are nuances to it. This is where we separate the boys from the Crispies right here. Now let's get a little bit more ink, load it up, and we're going to do the ears. And if you notice, I kind of kept it inside, a little bit of a border on the outside there, kind of suggests the highlight, right? Meaning I went inside here like this. But you don't have to do it perfectly. You can kind of push it to the edge. It's the more perfect you make the drawing, in my opinion, the more everything is symmetrical and uniform, the less interesting it is. So if you looked here by putting these little dots and using the side of the brush and dry brush, I'm creating variance and texture, and this is not exactly the same shape as here. It's to make it look handcrafted, in my opinion. That's part of the allure of illustration, and you know, if I were to just draw half this image and then mirror flop it, like some of you guys might be tempted to do using Photoshop or whatever digital device you're using, you're going to get something that looks very sterile. And it's because the mind knows that we're looking at a transposed image or something that's copied. It's the same way if you look at a photoshopped image of some scenery and you see cloned trees, and I've seen this in like photography, and you go like, that is a cloned area of that's been shrunken down. The mind can see those kinds of repetitions, those kind of patterns. You see them in video games when you see the same tile blocks in the dungeon or whatever. And it feels phony. It doesn't feel like life, because life is all about chaos and asymmetry, even in people's faces. And that's what makes things look cool. All right, so now we're going to basically drop the shadow underneath the head. And again, it kind of stays exactly off the neck. Okay. The way we're going to do this is draw the core shadow of the neck muscle. And trust me, this is all going to go to black, but I'm going to kind of show you the process here. So these are the two muscles that basically go along here. This is the Adam's apple here. I'm going to ink the bottom side of this Adam's apple with kind of this ice cream cone shape. It looks like home plate. Okay, and now I draw this line underneath here, and the brush should be, I have not re-dipped this in, so it should be almost kind of dry, and I'm going to pull it across and pick it up with each stroke, right? Stroke, lift it up, stroke, lift it up, but I'm doing it very fast. Okay. Just creating gray. I'm just going to go back and forth. And then when it gets towards the bottom, I want it to get darker. And darker. Just keep going. I mean, it's just a very subtle thing. All right. Going from the collarbone here. Sorry. It's going to be thicker here. All right. And then when it comes down to here, just like that. And then we're going to ink in these muscles right here. And this line is going to parallel that line there. Okay. Maybe not parallel. They're going to actually kind of converge. So they're going to get thinner. It's going to get thinner here. I'm going to actually broaden the shadow. And depending on how much light's over the character's head will dictate how kind of wide the shadow is. I mean, if there's a lot of light, this whole shadow can go like this. Right? I mean, you can go, and I'll show you what I meant by this. You can go like this. You can go as far as this wide with the shadow. And then have the, basically go through here. And I'm going to white out the rest of the night. I'm doing this fast for the purposes of demonstration is what I meant to say. And so this shadow can actually come all the way out like this. and it'll still look right. It really kind of depends on how strong that light source is above the character's head. And then his chest muscles kind of begin right underneath here and here, right? And that is the collarbone. That's what defines a collarbone. And you basically just fade them out as you go down. Right? The same idea as this. This is where the shadow is deepest, right here underneath the edge of the collarbone, and then it flares back out as the pec basically finds the light. And it is no longer in shadow. All right, now take this, and we're going to blot it around Black Panther. We're going to create foliage. All right, watch. Okay, I'm just going to press like that, lift. Press like that, and lift. Press like that, and lift. Okay, and we're going to do it in a way that creates, hopefully, some sort of jungle pattern, like there's a jungle behind him. And just to mess it up a little bit, yes, these are happy trees. I'm going to create a slightly different pattern, put in more ink. Okay, and you can, or you can even go and create like an S like that. The idea is not to repeat it so that it looks exactly the same. We're talking about video games and tiles and stuff. Okay, because you're basically creating tiles. Okay, so you want to change the angle as you dip and do all that kind of stuff. Now we're going to take the same thing and we're going to drag it down. So it's going to be black down at the bottom. So the idea is that these patterns are more at the top. Now we're going to capture the top part of the jungle. Okay? And what I mean, I'll pencil it out for you first. So take a pencil and just kind of very smoothly, you can close your eyes or whatever, try to draw a random line. This represents the top part of the foliage. Now we're going to ink that, but we're going to make it squiggly, like you can see the leaves. Right now you guys are probably going, we should have just done the movie Black Panther face. It would have been a lot simpler than this. I like to complicate things. I want you guys to push yourselves. We would put a little bit of foliage here like this. All right. And now we're drawing these tree branches, all right? Think of Y's. Draw the letter Y. If you want to do a W, you can do a W. Have some of these Y's kind of branch off. A Y creates a Y. Or maybe it's W. They don't all have to go straight up and down. They can kind of come out like that. VZA in the house. He has a YouTube stream. You guys should follow. It's the stuff we do here, but he breaks it down into manageable clips. And oh yeah, I gotta check my poll. And little trees, branches to connect the bits that were kind of floating, right? Okay, and now we're gonna basically repair the things that need repairing. So I'm gonna take this line, I'm gonna draw it down and re-establish his neckline. Okay, clean up this edge over here. All right. And then I'm going to also make each teardrop nice and clean. And then connect up that. And I'm going to take some of these tree branches and draw them in white on the black. Little happy little lines. Right? Take the pencil, our blunt tip, we can go in and we can kind of colorize the mask. So once it looks too white, I agree with them. It's a Black Panther. We're not creating artwork to be published. We're creating artwork to be viewed and enjoyed for what it is, which is a sketch. And I'm just basically going through and slowly, like my hand is a machine, drawing from the wrist like this. So I can get a nice even gray, and I'm going and coloring in essentially the costume. But I'm doing it in a way where I'm not rotating the tip, because if you rotate it, you'll get to the sharp side. It's by coloring, by doing this, you're creating a sharp side and a blunt side. And if I were to flip it over, it will get to the sharp side and the line will get a lot darker. So I'm keeping it all on one side, keeping the angle fairly consistent. So I'm able to basically create a nice gray, and then doing it also in the area of the dry brush to make that a little bit darker. Make this a little darker here, like 2 coats with slightly more pressure. And maybe a little more pressure here, very subtle thing here. And now we'll also go down here and finish this out. This takes a bit of practice, but if you do it enough, you'll be able to get very nice even effects. So don't be discouraged if you get something that looks very uneven, or if you can see kind of white lines like this in between. Okay. Think happy gray thoughts, or maybe melancholy gray thoughts, I don't know. It's a little tricky when we get to the bottom. You guys all following along? All right. Put some more gray into the areas that I did gray brush. Okay. Now, I have created the, if you look, it's very hard to tell. But essentially, the nib of this pencil looks like this. All right? That's the surface, that's the angle of which I was creating that gray effect. So I have the sharp tip here. I have a sharp tip here. And what I'm going to do with that sharp tip, take that sharp tip down, and now you can kind of complete some of these lines that were telegraphed before, because we're creating gray. And you can create just some cross-hatching here and here. Create some texture and also create darker grays, so not everything is just black or white or gray. I've got like a third texture, or a third value, sorry, take that back. Right? And if you look at the angle I'm going at, darkening the bottom parts of the ears here, deepen the furrow lines in between the eyes, and rendering a little in between the eyes like that. Take this marker here and we'll put the shadows underneath the teeth. And these are triangular shadows here, and also clean up the tips so that the teeth are a little sharper. And it's all. Most shadows are going to be triangular in shape, like that. Maybe create some gray over here so it's not so white. And I'm just basically taking some of these lines and just sharpening the edges. Some of the white out. Put a darker shadow underneath each ear. Make that pop out. Maybe kind of darken these contour lines a bit so he pops out. These are all very kind of subtle refinements at the end, but they individually they don't add up to a lot, but when you kind of do it across the board, it has an impact. Just kind of taking the image and making it look a little more polished. Okay. Taking this dark shade and coming down out of the black like that. And it's hard to see that actually because it's so gray and dark gray there, which is fine. That's the whole point of is just to create this nice transition. All right, that's it. That's my Black Panther. I am going to take a phone picture and pop it onto the Discord channel. Oh, we got to sign this. So I'm going to get a Sharpie and voila, we be done.